Hey everybody, and welcome back to another one of Mudflap's movie reviews. My name is Mudflap, and today I will be reviewing the first episode of the Amazon Prime original show, Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power. Let's get started. So, The Rings of Power follows the storyline of Galadriel and her brother Finrod. We get a little backstory into what's taking place right now. The timeline of this show takes place 2,000 years before the Lord of the Rings, and Galadriel and her brother are very young, and we get to see Galadriel actually start out as just a kid. We get introduced to her brother Finrod, and they are involved in a great war between Sauron and Morgoth. Morgoth is Sauron's most loyal follower. I've never heard of him before, but he used a big name that they threw out in the beginning of this episode. And we see that Galadriel is really starting to embrace her own destiny. She was on her own ordered quest, but she decided to veer off and pursue her own personal vendetta against Sauron, because unfortunately during that huge battle her brother was killed, and Sauron left his mark literally on Finrod's body, and ever since then Galadriel has been just hell-bent on finding Sauron and exacting revenge. But it's been years and years and years since that battle happened. She has had no luck so far with finding him. So we're introduced to a lot of different characters in this show. We're introduced to a new species I've never heard of. They're called Harfoots. They seem a lot like hobbits in like how they live, but they're really, really tiny. They're a lot smaller than hobbits. But we get introduced to a character named Nori. She seems to be a lot like Frodo in her characteristics. She's never traveled beyond her home, and this episode set up an adventure for her, as we could tell that she was just ready to go and face the world beyond the home, and all the, her parents are telling her there's a reason why we don't go beyond, the home. But everyone, all different races in the show could definitely tell that something was off, and that Sauron was starting to make his return once again after being silent for years and years and years. We get introduced to an elf. His name is Arondir, and we get to see a little bit of the dynamic between humans and elves at this point. It was pretty much taboo for an elf and a human to be in a relationship, because there have been relationships like that in the past that ended terribly. So that was an interesting dynamic. You kind of got to get yourself in a new mindset when it comes to how you view humans and elves at this point. Humans were kind of being held under by elves. Depends on your perspective, but a lot of humans didn't like the elves because the elves viewed themselves as higher than humans were, and they kind of ran everything. But a cool character I didn't expect to see in this show, Elrond. We get to see Elrond as a very, very young guy, and cool enough, he and Galadriel were really good friends. So I'm excited to see more of Elrond's role. He's definitely not, he's rising the ranks at this point. He's definitely a trusted advisor and a trusted leader of what he does, but he's not like where he was in the movies. And I've also heard that this show it's kind of its own separate story from Lord of the Rings. I'm not really sure exactly what direction we're going to go with some of these things, but I'm excited to see more of Sauron in action. We only got to see just a glimpse of him, but a lot of talking about him, a lot of just like he's around type deal, so that was exciting to see. This show actually looked really, really good in terms of locations and just the budget they spent on it, and the beautiful scenery and the costumes and the sets. All of that looked really, really gorgeous. So I do have to say I really like that about this show. I'm a little worried about how some storylines may go in character development. I don't think Gandalf is going to be in this. I didn't see him listed on the cast at all, which I'm not sure, but I have a bad feeling that this show may not be as successful as people may want it to be. I just think having Galadriel in there is really cool, but Gandalf was like, everyone loved Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings movies, and he just really stole the show. But I think we just have to have a character in this show who knows how to steal the show, and right now, honestly, I think it's going to be Sauron. But I'm excited to see Nori might take the front stage, or Galadriel and Elrond may also come to the center of the spotlight as well. I'm just excited to see what happens. It was a good starting episode, definitely laid out a lot of groundwork that we need. I wish I knew more about these characters and more about the stories and characters that they're based off of. All the characters, all the storylines in this show are based off of the appendices of the Lord of the Rings. There were 6 of them that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote, and this is where this show got all the inspiration. I hope everyone has gotten a chance to see it. I'm excited to see more episodes and see what happens. So for this first episode, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10 Mudflaps. And before you go, drop in the comments below, who is your favorite Lord of the Rings character? And as always, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and I'll see you next time.